India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is on a 6-day visit to the continent. He began with a 3-day trip to Uganda and now he's in Mozambique. Mozambique is a country of about 31 million people. It's located in southeastern Africa. Jaishankar is there to foster ties. When he arrived yesterday, he was given what he calls an energetic welcome.
Flames lit up the night sky in Mozambique's Cabo Delgado province. It was 2021, and Africa's largest energy dream worth over $20 billion was suddenly in ruins. Insurgents stormed the town of Palma, just a stone's throw from a liquefied natural gas project that was supposed to transform Mozambique into a global energy powerhouse. TotalEnergies, the French giant leading the project, evacuated its staff. The project was frozen overnight. Billions of dollars were on the line. Western lenders pulled out. The future of Mozambique's economy and the global energy balance suddenly hung in the balance. But while chaos spread across Cabo Delgado, one major power saw opportunity in the ruins. India, New Delhi quietly began maneuvering through coal mines, gas stakes, and energy corridors to secure a strategic foothold in Mozambique for India. A country hungry for energy to fuel its 1.4 billion people. This was more than just an investment. It was a $10 billion bet on Africa's future. But how exactly did India get here? And why does Mozambique matter so much? To answer that, we need to rewind to a deal that started with coal and would soon evolve into one of the boldest energy gambits in modern Africa. It all started in the dusty heartlands of Mozambique's Tete province, home to one of the largest untapped coal reserves in the world. In 2014, an Indian consortium called Dickville International Coal Ventures Limited made a stunning move. Backed by giants like Coal India, SAIL, NMD, and NPC, they acquired a 65% stake in the massive Benga coal mine. Tata Steel held the other 35%. For India, this wasn't just another overseas deal. Domestic coal reserves were dwindling, and the country needed energy security. Mozambique's coal, with its billions of tons of reserves, seemed like the perfect solution. But this gamble came with hidden costs. Mozambique's infrastructure was weak. Rail lines couldn't carry enough coal to ports. Local communities protested displacement. And global markets were already starting to turn away from coal. Still, India doubled down. Why? Because Benga wasn't just about coal. It was about establishing a beachhead in Mozambique's energy sector. And that beachhead would later give India leverage when gas entered the picture. But before we get there, we need to look at the other side of Mozambique's resource boom, the massive offshore gas fields that could rival Qatar. And this is where the real drama begins. Mozambique's gas story began off the coast of Cabo Delgado in 2010. Exploration companies made one of the largest natural gas discoveries of the 21st century. The Rovuma Basin was sitting on an estimated 100 trillion cubic feet of gas. To put that in perspective, it's enough to power India for decades. French energy major TotalEnergies, along with U.S. companies, Japanese investors, and others, poured billions into developing liquefied natural gas plants. Mozambique was suddenly on track to become the world's third-largest LNG exporter. India had a direct interest. Companies like Videocon and ONGC Videsh joined international consortia, securing stakes in offshore gas blocks. The plan was simple: pump Mozambique's gas, liquefy it, and ship it thousands of miles across the Indian Ocean to India's hungry energy markets. But there was a problem. Cabo Delgado wasn't stable. Poverty, inequality, and corruption created fertile ground for insurgent groups. In 2021, when militants stormed Palma, the entire LNG dream collapsed. For Mozambique, this was a national disaster. For India, it was a moment of reckoning. Could they still count on Mozambique's gas? Or was this a resource curse in disguise? That is when India's coal bet suddenly looked like a hedge against Mozambique's unstable gas future. But as we'll see, the LNG project didn't die. It went into hibernation, and its revival would reshape India's role in the region. Fast forward to 2024. Security forces from Rwanda and regional allies pushed insurgents back in Cabo Delgado. Slowly, confidence began to return. And in early 2025, something big happened. The U.S. Export-Import Bank approved a nearly $5 billion loan to restart the LNG project. Suddenly, the $20 billion mega project was back on the table. Japanese giant Mitsui confirmed financing was 70-80 reconfirmed. Construction was set to resume. Mozambique's gas dream was alive again, and India? New Delhi wasn't going to miss its chance. With equity stakes already secured in offshore blocks, India positioned itself as a long-term buyer of LNG from Mozambique. But here's the twist. India wasn't just betting on gas. It was building a two-pronged strategy: gas for the long term, coal for immediate supply. That combination gave New Delhi unusual leverage, especially as competition heated up, because India wasn't the only one eyeing Mozambique. China, the US, and Europe all had their sights on the same resources. And that brings us to the real geopolitical chess game playing out in southern Africa. Mozambique's gas and coal boom isn't just about energy. It's about global influence. For China, Mozambique fits into the Belt and Road Initiative. Beijing has funded ports, roads, and railways in southern Africa. If China secures long-term LNG contracts, it can lock in supply chains for decades. For the US, Mozambique is about countering China and supporting Western energy companies. That's why Washington greenlit billions in financing through its Export-Import Bank. And for India, it's about survival. With domestic energy demand soaring, India can't afford to be left out. Mozambique offers an alternative to Middle Eastern energy, less vulnerable to choke points like the Strait of Hormuz. But here's the catch. Mozambique isn't just a resource. It's a fragile state, balancing debt, conflict, and climate risks. Whoever dominates its energy future will shape not just Mozambique's destiny, but Africa's role in global energy politics. And India's 10 billion bet means it has as much skin in the game as anyone. But that raises another question. What does this mean for Mozambicans themselves? On paper, Mozambique's energy boom looks like a jackpot: billions in revenue, thousands of jobs, roads, ports, schools. But the reality is more complicated. In Cabo Delgado, local communities were displaced from their land to make way for LNG plants. Promised jobs often went to outsiders. When insurgents attacked Palma in 2021, it was locals who suffered the most. The coal story isn't much better. Mines in Tet have displaced villages and caused environmental damage. Rivers are polluted. Farmlands are shrinking. For India, these costs are far away, but for Mozambique, they're daily struggles. The government now faces a dilemma: how to balance foreign investment with local development. And there's a bigger issue. The world is moving toward green energy. Will Mozambique's coal and gas still matter in 20 years? Or will the country be left with stranded assets and broken promises? That's the question investors don't want to answer. But for India, the answer doesn't matter yet, because for the next 2 decades, its energy demand is only going up. Still, this creates a final twist in the story, because Mozambique's boom might not just shape Africa's energy future. It could reshape India's own path to power. Think about it. India is betting billions in Mozambique, but it's not just about energy supply. It's about geopolitical identity. If Mozambique's gas exports succeed, India becomes less dependent on Middle Eastern suppliers. If coal exports keep flowing, Indian industries keep running. And if both work, India secures a bridgehead into Africa, a continent where China already dominates. In other words, Mozambique is India's test case. Can New Delhi translate energy investments into long-term influence? Or will it stumble into the same traps: conflict, corruption, instability that have plagued foreign investors for decades? The answer isn't clear yet, but one thing is certain: India's 10 billion bet is more than an energy gamble. It's a statement that in the new energy race of the 21st century, India won't just be a spectator, it wants to be a player. From the dusty coal fields of Tet to the gas-rich waters of Cabo Delgado, Mozambique has become the unlikely stage for one of the most important energy stories of our time. For Mozambique, the stakes are existential: prosperity or poverty, stability or chaos. For India, the stakes are strategic: energy security, global influence, a chance to rival China. The story isn't finished. LNG plants are still under construction, coal markets are still volatile, and Mozambique is still wrestling with its demons. But one truth is hard to ignore: India has placed a giant bet on Mozambique. And whether that bet pays off or backfires could decide not just Mozambique's future, but the shape of global energy in the decades to come.